I stand outside of the door to Hanako's room, hoping that she isn't too much of a state as I nervously clutch the worksheets Mutao asked me to pass on to her. It's one more reason to visit her, and it gives me something to talk about, so I suppose I should be thankful to him for giving me the task. With a long breath to steady myself, I rap my knuckles on the door in front of me. Silence. I listen intently for any sort of shuffling coming from inside, but I can't hear a thing. I knock on the door again, slightly harder. Still no answer. How strange. Scratching my head, I make one last attempt at getting her to answer as I knock on the door one final time. Hanako, it's me. Mutao said to give you some stuff. For a while, the attempt seems just as unsuccessful as the last. Just before I slip the sheets under her door, though, I hear the handle rattling. As the door opens halfway, I quickly try to see how Hanako's faring. It's a task made somewhat more difficult by her oversized gown hiding so much of her body. She doesn't look sick, or at least not immediately so. To be honest, I'd have preferred that to her expression right now. She looks terribly tired, and appears to be barely acknowledging my presence. Hi, Hanako. Mutao asked me to give you these since you went in class today. I hold out the loose sheets, which she tentatively takes in her hands. The way she moves is devoid of thought. Her posture is slumped, in an unusual manner for someone that's so often tense and wound up. Even her eyes keep looking away from mine, doing their best to avoid eye contact. I move my head a little to try and get a better look, but she just ends up turning away. Are you okay? If you're feeling sick or anything, I could go get a nurse. It feels almost pitiful to put on such a routine, get well soon act. I can't think of anything else I could possibly do, though. She seems to collect herself a little at the notion, but only a little. Her head remains turned away, but her eyes move towards me. I'm fine. An awkward silence follows. As it lingers, I notice that the sleeves and cuffs of her gown bear slightly damp stains. Her cheeks are a bit red too. Has she been crying? I see. I hesitate a little before coming out with the words I really came here to say. Would you like me to stay? I don't have anything urgent to do at the moment, so it wouldn't be any trouble. Her eyes slide away from me, and I lose any hope for an improvement of her mood. I wait for a response, but she doesn't say anything, nor give any kind of gesture. She just stands there, looking away from me. Hanako? She slowly shakes her head. Oh, okay. Good night then. With that, Hanako steps back and closes her door without a second word. More than a little worried, I retreat back to my room. Wandering up the hall, I keep mulling over what happened. It felt like Hanako was only half there, as if I was interacting with a robot that was just doing what it was programmed to without any real thought. She was a husk of a person. This is frustrating. I'd hoped that meeting Hanako would help the situation, but I feel like it's only made it harder to understand her. How am I supposed to try and help her when she quite literally shuts me out like that? I don't even bother to turn on the light, opting instead to simply change into my pyjamas, quickly choke down my evening pills, and collapse onto my bed. Once again, Hanako doesn't turn up for class. Try as I might to concentrate on other matters, this fact continues to distract me throughout the entire school day, and even as I walk through the school gardens to the dormitories. I don't think today being her birthday is a coincidence either. I don't know the link between the two events though, nor do I have any idea on what she's feeling. Were it physical pain, I could at least provide some limited comfort. With something like this though, I have no idea where to start. I run the people I know through my head, thinking about whether they could help. Shizune and Misha don't know that much about Hanako, and what little they do know they can't tell me. Same for the nurse. In the end, there's only one person that knows Hanako well and would be willing to tell me anything. Entering my dormitory room, I notice something that takes me off guard. It's starting to feel familiar. With everything that's going on around me, I'm thankful that this room started to finally be somewhere I can relax a little. When I'd first entered Yamaku, it felt immediately foreign in every way, from the untouched neatness to the way it smelled. Focusing back to the task on hand though, I throw my bag onto the bed as I open the top drawer of my desk. Before she left, Lily told me the number to call her on while in Scotland, and I wrote it down. In hindsight, I wonder if she knew something like this could happen. Now that she's out of reach, I realise just how much both Hanako and I have relied on her for guidance. I dig around drawer after drawer looking for that piece of paper. Eventually, thankfully, I find it nestled under a borrowed library book. I probably should have entered it directly into my cell phone, come to think of it. Without further ado, I enter the numbers and anxiously press the call button. Eventually the phone picks up, a feminine voice I don't recognise on the other end. It's probably Lily's mother. I don't know. I'm guessing this is static though. Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. It's not static. It's someone speaking English, and because the game's in English, how do you represent that when the character's Japanese? Okay, I comprehend. English. Suddenly finding myself unprepared, I realise I can't understand a word she says, either due to my limited vocabulary or her heavy accent. Oh, I'm guessing she's Glaswegian. Oh dear. Actually, I don't know what the kind of the East Coast accent's like. I can only do Glaswegian. I can't understand a word she says, either due to my limited vocabulary or her heavy Scottish accent. The one Scottish accent that exists. Like this. I mean, because you've got Glasgow, Edinburgh. I think you've probably got an East Coast. You've probably got a West Coast kind of one. You've got the islands. Whatever accent she has. I should have anticipated this, since according to Lily, her mother is a native Scot. I soldier on in the hope that she must know some Japanese, considering it's her daughter's native language. It's Hisao Nakai speaking. An enthusiastic sound of realization can be heard as she recognizes the language. My feeling of relief is immense. It's like, you must be one of Lily's friends from school, correct? Even so, her accent means I have to concentrate to work out what she's saying. Yes, that's right. Pleased to speak to you, Mrs. Satao. Oh, it's so nice of her to find someone so polite. Lily dear, it's for you. Her mother seems nice, if a little over-enthusiastic given the mundane situation. There's a small silence as Lily takes her time getting to the phone. In the distance, I can just make out her mother scolding her playfully for just getting up. Hello? Lily speaking. I find it interesting. She's half Scottish, and yet she's got a very received pronunciation accent. Oh well. You sound awful. She makes a sound somewhere between a dying animal and a yawn. The one thing I did remember to check before calling was the time zone. It'd be pretty late in the morning over there, so she really has no excuse. Not feeling well? Just tired. What time is it there? Late afternoon. School finished for the day not long ago. Hanako's not well, is she? That was quick. My assumption that she must have known something like this could happen seems to have been on the mark. How did you know? Because today is her birthday. I'd hoped she might have gotten at least a little better after coming to know you, but... How is she right now? She missed school today and yesterday. I still have to check up on her today. To be honest, after seeing how she was when I talked to her yesterday, I'm pretty anxious. I really have no idea what to make of it. Has this happened in the past? Is it related to her scarring in some way? Unfortunately so. Roughly the same thing happened last year when her birthday came up. As far as I can tell, it's because her parents died in the accident that caused her scarring, and Hanako blames herself for their deaths. What she says doesn't seem to make sense. If she's blaming herself on her birthday, she may well be ruining that she was ever born. Oh, sorry. What she says does seem to make sense. If she's blaming herself on her birthday, she may well be ruining that she was ever born. Hanako had mentioned her stay in the orphanage to me. Maybe I should take some heart that she'd trust me enough to tell me such a thing. Lily seeming so in the dark about it though, almost to the extent that I am, is a surprise. Oh, so that's why she lives in the student dormitories as well. Has she told you any more about the accident? As close as we've come, she's very barely told me anything about what happened. What I know about it is largely conjecture. She sounds depressed, almost defeated. Considering the trauma Hanako must have gone through, I really can't fault Lily for not knowing. Nevertheless, she still seems to consider it a personal failing. Oh, don't blame yourself, Lily, with everything she's gone through. There's a long silence from the other end of the line. I begin to wonder if the call cut out before the voice at the other end speaks again. There is another person, though, that has been a subject of worry for me as of late. Is this us? Oh? I run through the people she could be talking about in my head. The only friends she seems to keep very close are Hanako and me, though there is Akira as well. That person is you, Hisao. There's another silence on the line, but this time it's caused by me. Making others worry about me is something I've been actively trying to avoid since coming to Yamaku. Indeed, even my interaction with Hanako has helped stave off any major health problems thanks to our relaxed and slow-paced lives. What is there to worry about over me? Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean any offense. Sorry, I was just taken a bit off guard. Still, isn't Hanako a bigger problem at the moment? For some time now, I've thought that the both of you may be feeding into each other's more worrying habits. I tried to amend this before leaving, but it seems to have done little. Worrying habits? When I asked you about what you had in mind for the future, your answer was very similar to what Hanako has said in the past when that question was posed to her. It is well and good to want to protect her, but I fear that treating Hanako like this, as if she were a daughter or someone in need of special care, is only going to achieve the opposite. The situation got effectively turned on its head. After everything that's happened, this is the first time I find myself doubting Lily's judgment. Okay, so it's... I think I've kind of given my viewpoint on this anyway, but if someone's retreating like this, sometimes pressuring them and being like, oh yes, I'm here for you all the time, constantly, is a reminder that they're weak. And also, from Hisao's perspective, is it means that he's using all of himself up in Hanako. And... yeah, I think... And we have to think about our future as well. I'm not sure what the point is, because she's... I think we should... I'm trying to think what... Okay, so... It's our future, and we're spending a lot of time together. And I think, at the moment, we need to give her... One, we need to give Hanako some space. Two, we need to think about our future. Which is true. So, I agree with Lily. I don't want to admit it, but she may have a point. Something else bugs me, though. And you tried to amend this? Wait, our outing to the city? Quite astute. I thought that it might help if I dragged both of you out of Yamaku and into the wider world. I'm thankful you became closer for it, though. So she noticed that. I suppose she may well have been paying attention to us, and her hearing's incredibly good. Quite likely good enough to have picked up what we were talking about if she tried. This sounds more and more like you were manipulating us. Silence. It is a harsh way of putting it, but I have no intention of stepping back from those words. I'm sorry. I was just... worried about you. It's fine. I guess there are more important things anyway. It's not a total surprise that she'd do such a thing. Her motherly nature can be slightly overbearing at times, but she does have the best of intentions. So you think I should think about myself more instead of trying to cater to Hanako? That largely sums it up. Again, I'm sorry for not telling you this in a clearer way before going behind your back. I know I am at least as guilty of being overprotective of Hanako as you, but I fear that you are neglecting yourself in your efforts to give Hanako happiness. Do you really think Hanako will be okay? She isn't as fragile as you think. I don't know exactly what experiences she's lived through, or what feelings she has in her mind, but she has managed to work her way through them until now. It's also my hope that giving her a little space will allow her to decide what she truly wants for herself, and give her the initiative to reach out for it. Please have faith in Hanako. That's all I ask. I guess I'll think about it for a while. That's good. Being rash won't get you anywhere. I know that at times you may doubt your relationship to Hanako, but she does. Lily cuts herself off and takes a moment to reconsider her words. Please keep in mind that I wouldn't have befriended you if I hadn't thought you a fundamentally good person. You're a good friend, both to myself and to Hanako. Thank you. That helps. We share some small talk to try and lighten the atmosphere, but it feels very stilted. There's a lot I don't know about Lily's stay in Scotland, but after such a heavy subject, I want to be alone for a little bit to think. After a few minutes, we end up saying our goodbyes, and I set my phone on my desk. Compared to Hanako's situation, mine feels utterly mundane. I still have both of my parents. I had a reasonably normal childhood, and unlike many in Yamaku, my condition isn't immediately visible to the public. But then again, isn't that just an attempt to justify the way I've been acting towards her? That may well be what our pasts were like, but when it comes to the future, I still have no idea what I want to do. In school, I've just concentrated on each day's work, and I've put off more and more things to cater to Hanako. I recall the words of Mutao told me. I recall the words Mutao told me after Hanako's breakdown about the purpose of Yamaku and my education. In hindsight, he was probably trying to push exactly the same thing. Just what I have been doing in this time since my Just what have I been doing in the time since my heart attack? If I ever did manage to get Hanako out of her room to open up, what then? I look out of my dormitory window as the sun slowly sets. It's a nice sight, but what I really savour is the quiet as the students return to their dormitory rooms. All I want to do now is think. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I want to work out where I'll go from here. Since talking to Lily yesterday, I've wanted to try and move on from the listlessness I felt ever since coming to Yamaku. But even if I try to concentrate on the book in front of me, Hanako's empty seat at the back of the classroom looms larger than life. Every time I start getting focused, my eyes flick over to her desk again and my mind starts spinning. Once more, my eyes drift over to it, but this time my vision is blocked by a certain other classmate. Oh, hey, Miki. Maybe you should just have lunch. I can hear your stomach growling from my desk. I let my head drop in disappointment. She seems to take some amusement from my reaction and hops onto my desk. Her grin as she sits on it reminds me of the Cheshire Cat. Cheshire Cat! Sorry. Pet peeve. Pet peeve is Americans in Cheshire Cat. Like, it's Cheshire! Sorry, that does bug me. It's one of the few American pronunciations that really bugs me. Sorry. So, what you working on? Some maths. I have a decent handle on it, but I just wanted to revise. Oh, really? Let me see that. Before I can object, she grabs my mathematics book with her hand. She scans the page I was on, holding it open with the one hand she has left, her left arm sitting uselessly on her lap. In my time here at Yamaku, I've noticed that the other students have a wide range of adjustments to their disabilities on a purely practical level. Miki is one of those who seem to have some trouble. The stump of her left arm tends to be either hanging by her side, slipped into a pocket, or otherwise put out of the way. Sometimes she has a difficult time doing common tasks, which makes her visibly quite frustrated. I feel a little bad for thinking this way, but I'm thankful that Hanako and I don't have disability affecting our freedom of movement to that extent. Then again, if Miki's problem worsened, at least she wouldn't have a real possibility of dying. My attention is refocused as she thumbs through a few pages, skimming their contents. With such casual interest in the subject matter, it's clear by now that she won't be any help. I'm guessing you're not too interested in this stuff. Screw maths! It's boring as hell. She puts the book back in front of me with indifference. Boo! Boo, not liking maths, boo. Her eyes move to the notebook beside it that I've been working out practice equations on. Wait, you're actually able to work that stuff out? Yeah. Wow. I've never talked to a computer with legs before. Computer, used before electronic computers, first invented in Bletchley Park in England during World War II. Go England. Go Britain. Go the UK. Woo! Computers referred to mathematicians who did the work. So, a computer with legs is a mathematician. Or a robot. Potentially. Okay, sorry. Thanks, I think. At least I'm doing better in this than history. Think it's worth asking that librarian for help? I heard she's shooting for uni. Ah, Yuko, maybe. I don't know what she wants to study, though. So, what about you? Got anything you're thinking of doing after you graduate? Me? Nah, not really. Just enjoying it while it lasts. She looks a little awkward when asked about her future, and absent-mindedly rubs her left forearm. I kind of want to ask her about it, but I don't think I know her well enough to do so. The conversation peters out, and I lean back in my chair, giving up on the prospect of studying. Miki notices my tired expression and looks oddly serious. You thinking about Hanako? It's that obvious? You've been glancing at her seat, and you've been pretty quiet. Not too hard to connect the dots. I'm just worried about her. Yeah, I can see why you would be. She can get kind of weird sometimes. She sounds put off, but I can't blame her. Hanako was a hard person to interact with before she warmed up to me, even with Lily around to help. I haven't known her for that long either, so some of her habits would still be unknown to me. My face becomes troubled. If I hadn't developed feelings for her, this would be at least a little easier to deal with. I mean, no offense. She isn't a bad person, I know that much. I know, I didn't take it that way. It's just harder to deal with when, well, you know, you have feelings for someone. Yeah, I can imagine that. It's hard to forget something like what happened to her during class too. I wish she hadn't reminded me of that. She just confirmed that it was clearly noticed by others in the room as well. Come on, don't get that down. She's done this before, you've just got to wait it out. She locks herself in her room and acts like an empty husk of a person for a sizable amount of time, ever since she entered Yamaku, if not before then as well, and I'm not supposed to be concerned about that? Well, I might think that, but there's nothing that I can do. I can't force her to come out, and she does see a therapist, so it's not like she's getting any help. She isn't getting help for her issues. Maybe it's natural to think that way when you're so powerless to help someone. That's just the way she is, and you just have to deal with it.